everybody, and welcome to our Thursday morning edition of Title Talk. I am your host, Drew, and I'm here with, always, our co-host, Amy.
Hi, guys.
And we have a special guest here today. Yay!
Talk in the middle.
She waves. We're not going to give her any name. We're not even going to introduce you. This is Rhonda. She is a Roxanne. I knew that. I knew that. I was looking and reading. This is Roxanne, and she is a realtor with, go ahead and tell us.
Village
Realty. Yes, outstanding. And she's going to come here today and talk to us about some great fun things that she's been doing. And we're going to talk a little bit about the market. We're going to go through our fun facts and talk a little bit about our
Normal Thursday
Inspired Gives Back and
Yeah.
question and answers and all those great things. So we're going to just kick right off and get this thing going and start asking Roxanne questions
After
right out of the
question,
gate.
after question, after.
We're just gonna, it's gonna be like an interrogation, and she's gonna love us. So, thank you for joining us. First of all, it's really great to see our
A
people.
new and friendly face.
Yeah, it's people
cool.
who kind of chat with us on our Title Talks, and then they become guests. It was like last week to boom now,
It
right?
was.
This is outstanding. So, before we kind of get really deep into things, I'm always intrigued by what excites you to get you into this market. Like, how did you want to become a realtor?
So,
Right.
I guess I'd always kind of had held positions that kind of were in the realm. So in college, I studied housing,
Okay.
housing patterns throughout Chicago.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really neat.
So I actually, my degree's in public policy. So
Okay.
I studied, housing policy, things like that. And then
How neat is that?
in my career, I've typically held positions. So I worked as a case manager for a homeless prevention agency.
Very cool.
And then I was a program manager for folks in SILAs, which are community integrated living arrangements for folks
Wow.
with disabilities in the community.
Holy cow.
So,
That's cool.
yeah, it's awesome, but, it's social services.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's really fulfilling, but I got really burnt out.
Yep.
Lots and lots of long hours.
Yeah.
So.
And you can't do that forever.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
no,
and
for sure.
I'm like an emotional person, so if I like that.
Oh yeah, it takes a toll on you.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I was like, okay, when I was looking for a kind of shift in career,
Yeah.
real estate just kind of seemed like a smooth transition.
Wow. That
We'll need to
That's
talk more
deep.
about that off of
yeah. Because I
that's
think there's
really
some
intriguing.
interesting opportunities with what we do as partnering with some of these different ventures that we're trying to do with Inspired Title Gives Back. I mean, you have
Yes.
some history in that and some background in that. That's interesting. We were talking a little bit off camera and just getting to know Roxanne a little bit more and kind of finding out more about her. But she held that one for this,
Yeah.
which is great.
I know.
Nice drop.
Talk about
That-
sideswipe.
Yeah, that's like a mic drop and walk out.
I
I'm done. There's nothing more to say. That was pretty strong.
That's
So
one of the things that kept me interested in listening when I was watching Title Talk. I was like, oh my gosh, these philanthropic efforts, that's awesome.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
That's so
yes,
cool.
the philanthropic efforts, we're stand by. We're going to talk about that some more too. So, what would you give? What kind of advice would you give to some of the newer agents that maybe want to get into the market as to the how-to and things to do like that?
Okay, so I have a couple different things.
Good.
I think it's so important. First of all, I think the number one thing that I tell people, I've actually had a few calls from relatives or friends or whatever that will just call and ask me about certain things. And I think the first thing would be when you're interviewing with brokerages, yes, they're interviewing you, but
Yeah.
it's important to see it as an opportunity for you to interview them. Because you really want to make sure that you're going to be you're going to fit
A
in
good
there, you're
fit,
gonna like
right.
everything, right?
For
So
sure.
I think it's super important to have specific questions that you want them to answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe interview with a few different places, right? And then do some comparison.
Yeah.
And see,
I
maybe
think
No,
that's
that
a very good idea.
yeah.
When we had
That
Matt
sounds-
Barsick here, he said the same exact thing. So it's
Yeah.
crazy that's a common thread among realtors. Like, make sure you find what's best for you, not just
And there's a lot of
what's best for
different
them.
Absolutely.
opportunities out there. They offer different things, right? And different agencies, different brokers have different programs, right? And how they help you guys as realtors, right? So that's interesting, and I think that's a very good point.
Yeah.
And I think that's some valuable knowledge for you guys if you're considering to get into the real estate market. Everybody just thinks it's HGTV and I can make millions right out of the gate, and it is.
That's what we're doing.
Oh, right, exactly. We'll put the disclaimer above the head that says, this is really not happening.
This is a lie.
Yeah, this is really not happening. So, and something else that is interesting that I side note to that is when people, I think people come to us for sure, probably to a realtor as well, with expectations of saying, well, I saw this on TV. They open it up with that comment and conversation of, well, they did it like this.
And it's
Why
almost
can't you?
Yeah, and it's so hard to break that from, to
Yeah.
take that away from somebody's brains when they're like,
The
but,
habit.
but this is how it happened. But this is what I
Right.
saw.
Yeah, that is so true. So again, we are getting to know our guest, which is Roxanne from the wonderful Village Realty. I want to segue into some question and answers. I'm going to get into some question and answers, and I know Roxanne has several of those, and I think they're really great ones.
Yeah,
And
they're
kind of
awesome.
Piggyback on her with those, so we're going to let her lead this segment,
Okay.
which we like to call our question and answers. And I just wrote that down.
That's snappy. That means stop playing with it.
I know. Okay, I'm done. Please kick off your question and answer segment.
Okay, so the first question and answer I have, this is what probably the most frequent question I get, or the most frequent question that I have to answer for folks at least and give them the information. What is the first step of the home buying process? And really, you obviously want to make sure your credit's in order. You want to make sure you're saving up money, when you think you're on a good page. But I think the most important thing is getting a pre-approval from the mortgage lender.
Pre-approval from the mortgage lender.
Pre-approval, number one, most important thing. I know, we have to go through this all the time,
Yes.
as real estate professionals. So there's a lot of reasons that you wanna do this. Number one, for you don't wanna waste your time and get your hopes up looking for a place,
Yep.
and then you actually do go for the pre-approval and you're looking at places that are out of your budget,
Right.
You don't wanna fall
For
in
sure.
love with something that you realistically can't afford.
Right.
Number two, the loan estimate's gonna give you that idea of how much you can afford,
That is.
right? It's gonna give you an idea of how much you need for the closing costs, the down payment, all that good stuff. So it's really gonna give you a better idea of the whole financial situation there. And then the third and most important, it's going to make you a qualified and serious buyer. Especially right now during COVID, we were just talking about all of these safety precautions, right, that people are taking. So it's super important right now to make sure that you are qualified, you are a serious buyer before you're going out in these people's houses and, just house hunting,
For
right?
sure.
As a buyer's agent, I wanna make sure that my buyer's client is a serious
Yeah.
buyer. Typically maybe I'll take somebody out one time, get to know them and everything
Right.
like that before I get a pre-approval. Now
Right.
during this pandemic, I'm a stickler about, having that pre-approval before you go out and see any houses.
That's good.
And sellers, with sellers, same thing, you definitely they want you to have that pre-approval.
Yeah,
So-
it really it shows some credibility that you have the financial wherewithal to buy that home. And we were talking about this a little bit prior to our going on air here, and the difference between a pre-approval letter and a pre-approval letter. I mean, there is a varying difference in
Right.
that what you see as a seller's realtor and the buyer's realtor presents this form and you look at it and go, they're qualified to buy up or spend up to $200,000. And then you get to the bottom of that letter, and the bottom of the letter says something like, upon a full credit review, and you just go, well, wait, what is that? Because maybe their credit is not good. Maybe they just recently got laid off. Maybe some circumstances happened in their financial world that has altered this. So that piece of paper now is useless.
Nothing. Yeah.
And what has happened? You've started your process. You've excited your seller with, hey, we've got a nice contract here. We've started our side of the transaction with doing the title side of this. And then Roxanne calls back and says, by the way, that deal fell through because they weren't qualified to really buy the house.
Which happened recently, I was telling you guys
Yes.
about, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
such
happened.
It is realistic that could be the process. Do you deny the letters in some instances? I mean, like if a realtor presents you a pre-approval letter, or do you just maybe not hold it with high regard?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take them out for showings,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it comes to submitting an offer, I'll definitely want that communication with the lender, and I think that's very important too, not only having that
Bingo.
pre-approval, but I like to, the second I know who my buyer's lender is,
Yes.
I want to reach out to that lender, make the connection, let them know that we'll be working together.
Good.
And that way you're both in the loop of everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what she just spoke is the difference between a realtor who's engaged and the realtor who is just kind of, doing this part-time.
Yeah.
Roxanne's words of, I'm gonna call your realtor, we're gonna get to know each other, we're gonna have a conversation, and we're gonna discuss your financial well-being. And now I know when I present this offer on your behalf, that buyer, that seller is going to understand that this is legit. Because you can say to the other agent that, I've talked to the lender, this deal
We're
is solid,
good, yeah.
right? Okay.
And then the cool thing is when you do order that title from whoever you order from,
Inspired.
you can give them the contract along with all these lender requirements. So instead of like having that delay of time between the contract and, me actually completing the title, doing the CPL and all that stuff, like it's a one-stop
Yeah.
happening then.
Yeah.
Like I can get it out in a week rather than, 3
So
weeks.
if you guys are out knocking on your lender's doors, talking about trying to get a pre-approval letter, maybe have the discussion with your realtor beforehand. They can help guide you as to the things that really will aid in getting this thing done correctly. Because there's a lot of lenders who they will just write it and it's nothing. And it's just to get you out of their office. And then to the professionals, it's not valuable and it's actually hurting you.
Right.
So to do it correctly first would be beneficial, and getting in touch would certainly be the way to go about that. So
Absolutely.
that's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Next question.
Okay, so next question, how long does it take to purchase a home?
Oof.
Okay, so typically, buying takes about 10 to 12 weeks. Now, they say for it to close, it typically takes about 30 to 45 days,
Right.
which we know average, that's, complete the escrow and everything
Mhm.
like that. But from start to finish, right, so that's your searching online, getting your lender, saving up your money, all that good stuff, 10 to 12 weeks typically. And then, and of course, if you're paying cash, then typically
That's
it's
a lot
gonna be a
faster.
quicker
For sure.
Yes,
process,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
That's terrifying to think about. That's
Yeah.
such a short, like,
I
in
know.
the grand, like,
Right.
for someone who, I'm one who thinks about everything for way too long, like my brain just wants to think about buying a house for 5 months before I actually do it. So it's crazy to know that, like, if you're
Yeah.
serious, if you're ready to get this done, it can happen in 3 months, 4
Right.
months.
Yeah.
But that's why I think they all say consistently, all the realtors will say, it's never too early to engage the realtor, because it does take time.
The realtor and the lender.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's some good information. I hope you guys are taking some notes and jotting this stuff down as well. That's good questions, good answers. What else you got there for us?
All right, so what is the seller's market?
That's, so now, you guys will probably hear this term a lot. Seller's market, buyer's market.
Right.
And how does that impact you? And let's hear that answer.
Okay, so in the seller's market, we have high demand and prices are driven up by the high demand, okay? So there's particular drivers and it kind of goes, okay, let me go with the sellers first. So seller's market typically has low inventory,
Right.
right? And it can be seen in different ways too, but low inventory is one of them. So that means fewer homes are on the market.
Right.
And then prices for existing homes might go up because there's fewer homes available.
Right.
Interest rates downward. So
Okay.
can anybody notice any patterns?
Yeah. What we're talking about now. Yep, for sure.
Right, so the interest rates improve home affordability and then creates more buyer interest. And then, things like first-time home buyers can
Right.
afford bigger homes. And then you can also see it when there's a short-term spike in interest rates. So, and that happens because there are, maybe buyers wanting to move before their purchasing power gets eroded.
Right.
Just taking advantage of that. And then different economic factors can affect it too.
For sure.
So right now, obviously, we're seeing those first two
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
now
yeah.
that are indicative of the seller's market.
Yeah.
So it is a seller's market right now, in
Yes.
case you're wondering.
So again, a quick summary to that is, low inventory, which is something I know in Illinois, well, I guess in both Illinois and Indiana,
Yeah.
we're seeing the demand for houses is higher than the available houses to buy are. That's where when Roxanne said a little while back about houses selling so quickly, it's when it comes on the market, there's not a lot of inventory, so they're going out there to
demand
see
is
it
high,
and
yep.
scooping it up. So because demand is high, again, it's simple economics, the price drives up. And it's obvious, we've learned that all in high school, it's, supply and
Supply and
demand,
demand.
right?
Yep.
What's a buyer's market then?
So the buyer's market is gonna be on the opposite end, right? It's gonna be declining home prices, reduced demand, interest rates are gonna be higher maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Cost of money's higher, so there's gonna be less buyers.
Right.
Then you can see when there's a short-term drop in interest rates, right?
Mhm.
Because that can give borrowers the temporary edge, more purchasing power for that small amount of time.
Right.
And then high inventory, so that's gonna be the opposite of what we're seeing right now.
And I think the last time we had a buyer's market, I mean, it's been some years because the interest rates have been so attractive.
Right, for years,
And
yeah.
I think it has to go back to the days pre-foreclosure, 2006, 2008.
So that's the last time you actually consider it
Yeah.
like a straight up buyer's market, like
Because
that you
that's
see
when,
that
that's
curve.
when everybody was buying their homes and that's when they got into the
That's
second
insane,
mortgages.
right.
And all these second mortgages is what put people
Right.
away. And.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
13?
This has been a rocky ride for some years and we're
That's
still not
so-
out of it. Like we
No.
got out of the foreclosure thing and then next thing hits.
Bam.
And now we're into
Bam.
COVID and
Yep.
you just sit back and go, all right, brace yourself. I have no idea what's next, but
Right.
Yeah.
those are two terms though in the business that you're gonna hear a lot
All the
about
time.
is a buyer's market and a seller's market. And, what, you gotta figure out which side of the spectrum are you on and what fits you and,
Well, that's what
where
I was,
do you
isn't
wanna
it
be?
weird? Like, if you're buying and selling at the same time, because usually that's what happens, right? Like, you sell the house you're living in, looking for another house.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
like, you're constantly, like,
50-50.
yeah, you're constantly just swimming through the muck of everything,
Yep.
right?
You're gonna sell your house fast, but you may not find one quickly.
Right.
So maybe start looking before
And that's the
you,
point, right? Yeah. And there are those lulls in time
Yeah.
where there's a little bit more of a balance, where there's a fair amount of market, there's a fair amount of
Yeah,
inventory and a
for
fair
sure.
amount of sale. Those times are not as common
Mhm.
as the definitive sides.
That's
I mean, when people are talking real estate, when they're talking about a market, climate,
Mhm.
they are truly talking about it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. You don't hear them saying it's a 50-50 market.
no, it's never just
not
a market.
Yeah, we just have a
Right.
market out
We
there.
just
It's
have a
like,
market.
Today, there's a 100% chance of weather.
There's,
Thanks, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that, that's wonderful. I mean, there's a market, well, pick one.
Yeah.
And I think these are some valid
No,
points
yeah,
to what
that's awesome.
what the market options are out there. So, those are great things.
They were.
And those are great questions and answers for people to take some notes on themselves and maybe learn and understand. And if you have any questions, if there's things that you didn't understand about anything we talked about through today, contact any one of us. All of our information is going to be up here on our Facebook page. We will get you Roxanne's information as well on our Facebook. This will go to YouTube as well, and you can come out there and check out this, and we can go back. She can go back through those questions because we'll segment this out. So
Yeah.
this is a great tool. These live shows turn into some really good tools later on if you subscribe and join our YouTube page. And you'll sit back one day and go, gosh, I remember they talked about this. Where is it? Well, you got a place now to go to find that inventory. Bless you.
Excuse me, thank you.
And this way, it's there for you guys, and even if you would need to share it with some of your friends because they're going through that, this is a great opportunity to do that stuff. So that is our question and answer segment, and with our featured special guest, thank you so much for going through and doing that
Yeah, that
with
was
us.
awesome. Thank
Those
you.
are very
That's
good
great.
questions and very applicable to what's going on in the marketplace today. So we're going to take a couple more minutes here and get ready to wrap some things up. But before we do, we want to kind of talk about our social media minute and give you guys some insight to what's going on in the social media
Yeah.
market, and then we'll segue into our Inspired Title Gives Back and our quote of the day, and then get out of here and let you guys get on with your day. So this has really been a good time. I thank you so much
Thank you for coming.
joining us here today. If you guys want to get a hold of Roxanne, like I said, we will absolutely have her contact information and all of her vitals to post and on YouTube and Facebook. Please get a hold of her and your real estate needs. You can always get a hold of us here at Inspired Title. We are the title company that cares, and we are the title company of the ages. We can't predict the future, but we can certainly protect you from it, and that is something that we've been talking a little bit about. But next week, we're going to have our philanthropist on to talk more about the Inspired Title Gives, and you certainly don't want to miss that. Until next week, thank you again, Roxanne, for joining us. My name is Drew.
And my name is Amy.
Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Bye.